So this is a wonderful purport, and we're going to discuss, we discussed it yesterday, but we're going to further discuss it today. And the main theme here is that if the leaders and rich men of society spend 50% of their accumulated wealth mercifully for the misled mass of people, and educate them in God consciousness, meaning the knowledge of Bhagavatam, certainly the age of Kali would be defeated in its attempt to entrap the conditioned souls. So that's a major point that Prabhupada is making. So the age of Kali is characterized by development of false pride. 2, attachment to sense gratification. 3, intoxication. Now, yesterday we read Prabhupada, what he said about modern education. He said, that by engaging without sense gratification, one does not become materialistically enthusiastic. What does it mean to be materialistically enthusiastic? Anyone can say, Krishna, what it means?
I can give a guess.
Yep.
Like you're happy with your material sense enjoyment for a limited amount of time. Can you repeat the question?
No. What does it mean to be materially enthusiastic? Do you know anyone that's materially enthusiastic? What do they say that proves that they're materially enthusiastic?
They play video games all day.
No, but what do they say that indicates that they're materially enthusiastic? You don't know? Well, do they ever say, I want to become rich?
Yeah, obviously.
They say that, right? And when I get rich, I'm going to have all the money I need to enjoy life. Okay. That's called materially enthusiastic. Now, how many kids do you have in your classroom?
We have periods, so we have to run around the school to different classes, 7 every day, and then we have 30 kids in class.
Okay, 30 kids. Out of 30 kids, you're one of those 30 kids, right? So out of 30 kids, how many are materially enthusiastic?
29.
Okay, how many kids do you have in your class?
30.
Out of 30 kids in your class, how many are materially enthusiastic? We just said, what does it mean? It means that they want to make a lot of money, and they want to use the money to enjoy material life.
25.
Okay, so how about the other 5? Can you characterize who they are? Huh?
They say they gave up on life and they don't even try being there. I don't know. We call them the depressed kids.
How many kids? There are 5 of them?
Yeah, I mean, there's just like a small amount of kids in every class like that. I'm just guessing 5.
Okay. Do you know any of those 3?
Yeah, I know some of them.
Yeah.
But I'm not close.
Okay. Do they dress in a certain way?
Yeah, they were black.
They wear black. Right. Every day.
Every day.
Right. And how did they do in their studies? Okay. Did they ever say, I want to commit suicide?
Yeah, they say like, I need a reason to live.
Do they listen to a certain type of music? Rap music? Rat music. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so at least 25 kids in your class are materially enthusiastic. And about 3 have given up. And that means maybe there's 2 left that are what? Not materially enthusiastic. Do you know the other one? You're counting yourself as one is not materially enthusiastic, right? Oh, how many kids you have? How many temple kids you have? Oh, 1. Okay. You're not materially enthusiastic? No, you're not materially enthusiastic. Materially enthusiastic, Krishna defined it as someone wants to make a lot of money, and they want to spend the money to have a lot of sense gratification. Okay. Well, the other 25 kids who you claim are materially enthusiastic, do they actually say that they want to make a lot of money?
Yeah, they say that I want to be rich and successful.
Right. Is that what the kids in your class, the 29 in your class say? He's got 29 like that. You only have 25. But you got 3 that have given up on life. You know, and they wear black every day. Okay. What?
There is more worrisome kind of behavior.
More what?
Worrisome, like you have to worry about those kids, like what you have done last night.
Well, no, they become like that because they give up on trying to be materialistically enthusiastic. They give up on it. So, I mean, if they didn't give up, then they wouldn't wear black every day. Like, you know, and if you go to a Muslim country, right, you see a woman walking down the street in a burqa. What color is the burqa? Black. You have it in India too, right? So what does that color mean when you wear all black?
I think maybe they just choose one color, or maybe they don't look attractive or something like that.
Yeah, they purposely don't want to look attractive. They don't want to be an object of examination, let's put it like that. Right. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that it symbolizes that they don't want to be observed by people in public. But this was traditional in India. I mean, even the Hindu women previously would never be visible in public. Like in Bengal, Prabhupada speaks about this. He said whenever a high-class woman had to go somewhere in public, she would have a palanquin. She would sit in a palanquin. 4 men or 4 servants would pick it up, and there was, you know, a cloth around it, so that when she went through the streets to go from one place to another, no one could see her. Right. And he explains that this was traditional in Bengal for higher class women. So the idea is that they don't want to be an object of somebody else's sense gratification. Whereas today you'll see that women in public basically reveal themselves completely, and they wear, you know, mini skirts, or, you know, they show their cleavage, all these things, and it's just like normal. I'm sure at your job you probably see women walking around like that. Do you? Do you see some?
They are decent.
Huh?
They're all decently dressed.
They're decently dressed, okay. How about when you go to a company party?
Although I don't go to parties.
You never went to a company party? Not one time. Okay, good. Okay, so Prabhupada is saying here that without sense gratification, one cannot be materially enthusiastic. And if you stop sense gratification, then you become spiritually advanced. Well, the kids that dress in black in your class, do you think they have stopped sense gratification? No, they haven't. Right. So how would a person dress who has stopped sense gratification? They dress like a devotee. Right? But if you see someone walking down the street with a dhoti or a sari, and usually in India, at least before, at least Prabhupada insisted that when women, devotee women, always cover their hair. So basically, you never see their hair. Also, you just see part of their face, and they have a sari on. So a sari is not. I mean, a sari is, and it covers their whole body. They don't have, like, you know, a lungi on, and you see their whole stomach. You just, the whole body is covered by the sari. So this was traditional in India, and it went even farther, that higher class women never were visible in public. They would always be on a palanquin covered by, on four sides, by cloth. So if Prabhupada says this is the secret, if you stop sense gratification, then you become spiritually advanced. And you cannot be materially enthusiastic unless there is sense gratification. So these are two major statements by Prabhupada. And he says the difference between Western and Eastern culture is the whole Eastern culture is based on how to stop sense gratification, and here in the Western countries, how to increase sense gratification. That's the difference. And you can see that by the number of kids in your class, right? And in your class, the majority of the kids, large majority, want sense gratification. I guess the difference is you're in a gifted program, right? You're not. Is your class like a gifted? Okay, so you have at least 3 kids that haven't given up on sense gratification, but they've given up on being materialistically enthusiastic. Right? Do you have any kids that gave up on being materialistically enthusiastic in your class? No, they're all gung-ho for, you know, making a lot of money and having sense gratification. Okay, so he says this is the difference between Western and Eastern culture. The whole Eastern culture is based on how to stop sense gratification. And here in the Western countries, it's all about how to increase sense gratification. They are eating meat, eggs, drinking wine. These things will enthuse sense gratification. And as soon as you get very satisfactory sense gratification, you become enthused to work hard. Therefore, karmis. And so forth. Anyway, so, and we discussed this yesterday. But today we're going to discuss a positive aspect. The positive aspect is that if the leaders and rich persons in society spend 50% of their accumulated wealth, for what purpose? Not for sense gratification, for mercifully for helping the mass of people who are in illusion to educate them in God consciousness or knowledge of the Bhagavatam, then certainly the age of Kali would be defeated. What does the age of Kali do? In this verse, 1st Canto, 17th chapter, text 24, it says, in the age of Kali, Maya is making people fall victim to deluding attractions. Deluding attractions. What's a deluding attraction? An Xbox, a video game, gambling, intoxication, sense gratification. These are all deluding attractions that take the mind. Anything that takes the mind away from Krishna is Maya. So Maya means something that takes your mind away from Krishna. So from now on you have a criterion. The criterion means a way to measure or a way to understand if you're in Maya or not. If your mind is not thinking about Krishna because it becomes attracted to something, like, for example, you could be attracted to a new iPhone. It could be attracted to a new video game. It could be attracted to a new way of making a lot of money real quick. It could be attracted to taking drugs. It could be attracted to anything that takes your mind away from Krishna. That's called Maya. Now, when you go to a shopping mall, do you see anything that'll take your mind away from Krishna? What do you think, Agastya?
No.
Like what?
Oh, like the new Xbox.
For example, yeah. So if you go to, let's say, Disneyland, do you see anything that can take your mind away from Krishna?
Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse, right? Oh, by the way, I heard something very interesting the other day. Mickey Mouse is an offshoot of blackface. You know what blackface is? Yeah, what is blackface? Huh? You heard of it, yeah. Blackface is when a white person puts black on their face to pretend that they're African American. But they do it to make fun of the blacks, right? So Mickey Mouse is an offshoot of that. What is the color of Mickey Mouse? Black. Have you ever seen a black mouse? No. You see, it's an offshoot of it. And, huh? They have black mouses?
It's black only.
Really? You don't have any white mice?
We don't have white mouse. It depends upon the region. When it's like cold region, they generally white.
Is it black or is it gray?
It is black.
What? A mouse and rat, yeah.
So in India we say rat only, they're all black.
I mean, really black or gray? We have rats here too. They're gray. They're not really black. Black means black, like his coat right there, right? That's black.
Yeah, they're closer to the black, but not gray.
Okay. Most of the rats here are gray. You know, it could be like a dark gray, but it's not. It's not really jet black. Mickey Mouse is jet black. His face is jet black, right? Okay, so whatever takes the mind away from Krishna is actually Maya. It can be anything. It can be anything. It's not just, you know, Mickey Mouse, or it's not, you know, it can be anything that takes your mind away from Krishna. Now, what happens when your mind goes away from Krishna? Then you become attracted to things such as wine or liquor or intoxication, right? Attachment to sense gratification, and you do, and false pride, having a too great estimation of who you are. You think you're much greater than actually what you really are, right? And that makes you better than others in your mind. Not it might not be true at all, but in your mind you think you're better than others. So all these habits, or so-called advancement of civilization, are the root causes of all irreligiosities. In other words, all causes of giving up religion and engaging in sinful activity. Now, for example, you can see this happening in India today. 30, 40, 50 years ago, a woman smoking in public, would that be seen in India? Smoking a cigarette in public? Nowadays you see it commonly. Even teenagers smoking, teenage girls and boys smoking in public. I went to Calcutta. I couldn't believe it. I saw teenage girls walking down the street smoking. I mean, of course, you see teenagers smoking here, right? But in India, you would never see it before. Am I right or wrong? Yeah. Okay. And this is considered modern. This is considered like an advancement, a sign of freedom. You know. And then another thing. I don't know if you. I mean, I don't remember myself, but if you see a person walking down the street drunk, I mean, you see it sometimes here. You see it a lot more in the big cities. You see it downtown Seattle. People walking around drunk. I don't know if you ever saw that. You would see that like 50 years ago in India. I'm not sure. But I'm sure you see it now. You know, there is an alcohol. There's an alcohol epidemic in India. Yeah. But that's considered modern. That's considered advancement. The fact that you can buy liquor in India now, whereas before it might have been there, but it was something, you know, only the British did. You know, now about 10 years ago, I was stuck in Delhi. I missed my flight, so I went to a ticket agency. It wasn't the airline itself; it was some ticket agent to buy a ticket. So he told me to sit down. He was dealing with some other people. Right, this is in Delhi, and while I was waiting, he was talking with these other people. There was some women dressed in saris and some men had suits on. And at a certain point, he turns around his chair and he opens up a cabinet and takes out a bottle of Johnny Walker and glasses. Johnny Walker is whiskey. And he pours it and gives it to the men and the women. Women dressed in saris. I mean, I was like confused. I thought I was like in, you know, downtown New York or something. and he kept, you know, insisting that the women drink it also. And the husbands didn't say anything, and they started toasting each other and started drinking. Yes. This is 10 years ago. Yeah.
In 2000, I went to Chennai and I saw every 4 or 5 minutes there was a temple. But when I went to London in 2004, I saw every 5 minutes there was a bar.
A pub. It's called a pub.
So when, but in India, 2 years ago, the taxi driver told me that they had to pick literally girls off the office and drop them to the pub. They're so drunk.
From the office? Drinking in the office.
Not only males, but they have to pick females also.
They have drinking in the office?
I mean, maybe there is office parties. I don't know what you are saying, but
Yeah.
Most of this, in the nighttime, and now they have the call centers. So what they do is they get off the shift and then they go
To the bar.
and they
On the way home.
on the way home.
Yeah, to freshen up.
they are so drunk they can't tell where they live. So they have to look around with their cell phone. So
Well, maybe they should have like a badge hanging from their neck. You know, this is my address if I'm too drunk to tell you. Well, but this is called modernism. This is exactly the problem. Modern civilization and economic development are creating a new situation of poverty and scarcity, with the result of blackmailing the consumers' commodities. Oh, actually, before that, he says that all these habits, or so-called advancement of civilization, are the root causes of all irreligiosities, and therefore it is not possible to check corruption, bribery, and nepotism. Who knows what nepotism means? You were here yesterday, right? Okay, what does it mean?
Like, because you have a good position, then you give your relatives a high position too, when they don't have to do any work.
Right. And what's the example of this?
Like the Gandhi family.
Like the Gandhi family. Exactly right. Got it right. He was here yesterday in the class. Yes, nepotism, bribery, and corruption. So, because of these advancement of civilization, the so-called advancement of civilization, these bad habits have come into prominence, even in India, of intoxication, false pride, and sense gratification. And because of that, it's the root cause of all irreligiosities. What does irreligiosity mean? Write this word down. I-R-R-E-L. Irreligiosity. I-R-R-E-L. I-G. I-O-S. I-T-I-E-S. Irreligiosities. Who can pronounce that word? Go ahead. Very good. Anybody else? Yes? Yes. Anybody else? You want to try? Yes. What does it mean? Irreligiosity. What does it mean? Yes. Yes. Give up religion and engage in sinful activities. Irreligiosities, right? So, what is the cause of irreligiosity? Who can say? Who can say? We've mentioned it several times. Besides Augustia, who's listening very carefully to every word I say now. He's become very adept at hearing properly. Anybody else want to say? Anybody else who hasn't raised their hand? Okay, go ahead, Shrestha. Huh? Three things. No, that's the result of it. Yeah. Okay, you know what they are. You just think. What are the four principles that we don't accept? Yeah. Yes. So here it says false pride, attachment to sense gratification, intoxication. But that covers the four things also. False pride is developed by eating meat, and sense gratification. So false pride leads to eating meat. How is that? So when you get let's say a lamb, a sheep, right? And you kill it, cut off its hair, cut off its skin, and then start cutting its different parts and then making a barbecue. That increases the false pride of a person, because they take this innocent, sheep are pretty peaceful animals, right? And it's easy to catch them. They'll come up to you, they're very friendly, you can catch them easily. And it's easy to cut their throat. It's not difficult. they only start fighting back when you actually start putting the knife on the throat and start cutting them. But up until that point, they're looking for affection. See? So if a person can do that, then they become proud. They say, just look what I did, man. I took this sheep and I cut its throat off and I cleaned it up and I'm barbecuing it. Now I'm going to eat it. You see? It's just like a little kid, you know. They discover how much fun it is to kill ants. So they get some lighter fluid. They find an ant hill, and they pour the lighter fluid into the ant hill, and they light it, and boom, the flame comes up and kills 100 or 1,000 ants in like a minute. I had one time, one of my kids was playing with a neighbor kid, and the neighbor kid was showing one of my daughters how to burn ants by putting lighter fluid into the ant hill, you know, and then lighting it. And I saw that, you know, it was in our backyard, and I told the kid, you shouldn't be doing that. And the kid got bewildered and started crying and went home and told her mother. And then the mother came over really angry. She said, what did you do to my kid? I said, well, I stopped her from doing something bad to my kid. She said, what's that? I said, your kid was showing my kid how to pour lighter fluid into a handhill and putting it and lighting it and killing all the ants. And I told her that she shouldn't do that. It's being cruel. And the ants have a right to live also. Oh, she said, oh, you said that, huh? I said, yeah, I said that. I said, then your kid started crying. I guess she came to you and complained, but I did the right thing. I don't know if you think I did the right thing or not, but I know I did the right thing for my kid. She said, no, I think I agree with you. I said, I'm sorry. She went back. All right. So you see that unless we teach our kids not to be cruel, then what happens? They develop false pride. And when they develop the false pride, then all the other things happen. The meat eating, the gambling, the sense gratification, and so forth. So we should not feel happy that we can kill ants or sheep or anything or anyone, right? Or even ourselves. Okay, so Prabhupada says here, all these habits or so-called advancement of civilization are the root causes of all irreligiosities. And therefore it is not possible to check corruption, bribery, and nepotism. Okay, so now we have three things. We know what nepotism is, right? You know what nepotism is? What is it? I guess.
Having a good position and bringing your relatives into a high position.
Yeah. So Augustia was in class yesterday also, right? Were you here yesterday? No, you learned it today. Okay, good. No, yesterday was just Sanskrit and you, right? Yeah. So now the result of sense gratification, false pride, and intoxication is corruption, bribery, and nepotism. What does corruption mean? C-O-R-R-U-P-T-I-O-N. Yes, Shasta.
So using their power to, normally the word is used when you're talking about like powerful politicians who use their positions to gratify themselves.
To make money.
Yeah.
They take bribes, right? And they do illegal things that they shouldn't do, but they do it. And then bribery, what does that mean? Augustia.
Like you're giving someone something to do something for you, like
Yeah, in India it's called bakshish. Bakshish. What does bakshish mean? Bakshish? What's the word for bribery in India? What?
Rishwat or whose?
Hoos.
no, rishwat.
Goose. Or what's the other word?
Rishwat.
Rishwat.
say that it is bakshis as a way to cover up the.
We use the word, that bakshish is a normal word. It means bribery. At least in English it does. It means bribery. Okay.
Price. It's a price for.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so, yes.
Is nepotism a form of corruption?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, if you, like the Gandhi family, like, you know, Indira Gandhi is making her son, this son or that son or that son, or Sonia Gandhi or Sonia Gandhi's sister, right? You know, they're giving them big positions in the government. They're not qualified for it, but that's called nepotism, yes. Saddam Hussein did the same thing. He made all of his family members big people in the government, you know, in Iraq. You know, and they were mostly low-class people. Yeah. Huh? His daughter, his son-in-law, yeah. Although they don't have official positions, they're unofficially, you know, empowered. He didn't make them, you know, Secretary of the State. They're unofficially acting like that, but they're not officially Secretary of State or Secretary of Agriculture or Secretary of this or the Treasury or whatever. Yeah. Okay. So now we see there is three things that help the progression of the age of Kali: becoming proud, being attached to sense gratification, and intoxication. And these three things lead to corruption, bribery, and nepotism. Okay. Now, this, and then you'll see that all these habits, or so-called advancement of civilization, are the root causes of irreligiosities. Okay. However, this modern civilization and economic development is creating a new situation of poverty and scarcity, with the result of blackmailing the consumers' commodities. Now we get into economics. This is called capitalistic economics. But the same thing happens even in communist and socialist countries. What is it? The more people become rich, the more people become poor also. Like, for example, it happens on a big scale. For example, when you go to the Safeway, you can buy 25 pounds of sugar, or at least before you could do it a couple of years ago, for $8. You know what that sugar is made? It's made in Haiti and the Dominican Republic, huh? In South America, right? In the United States, if you made the same sugar, it would cost twice or three times as much. So why do they make it in Haiti and the Dominican Republic? Yeah. That's not blackmail, it's exploit.
Yeah, they exploit the people there and they actually pay them very less money.
Yeah. So that when you and I go to the Safeway, we can buy a big bag of sugar for hardly, for pennies, basically. But that means that an entire country, like Haiti, almost the entire country are poor people. And if you saw the way they live, you would not believe it. They live in filth. They're very poor. And so this is called exploitation, right? It's a type of slavery. It comes to the same thing as slavery. The slaves didn't earn any money at all, but they were given, a very low level of life. But it's almost the same thing, because the way these people live in these countries and the way they're exploited, it's sinful. Yes.
Another example of this, also in the Dominican Republic, they mine cobalt, which is used in like cars, cell phones.
They have to use it for cell phones. Apple uses a lot of cobalt.
Yeah, so the people
Samsung also.
not only do they get very poor pay, but they're also getting poisoned by
The cobalt. By the way, in countries like India and other third world countries, of course India is not exactly third world anymore, but the people that go in the mines to harvest the cobalt, they're kids. Sometimes 10 years old, 12 years old kids. Yeah. So when you're using your cell phone, especially an iPhone, you are exploiting these little kids in the countries where they get cobalt. I don't know. I don't think they get it in India, but in other countries, I'm not sure which countries they are. Okay, so this is creating poverty and scarcity. How does people getting rich create scarcity? Well, what usually happens is like this. We discussed this yesterday. We'll discuss it shortly now, and then we'll go on to the subject for today. That when there's an overproduction of a product, let's say wheat, what do? If they put all that overproduced wheat on the market, it ruins the cost price. It'll bring it down, and they'll start selling it for less than what it cost them to make it, just to get rid of it, right? So what do? You were here. What do? If there's an overproduction of wheat, and if they put it all on the market, it'll bring the cost price so far down that the farmers will just lose money selling it. So what do?
They just throw everything away.
Yeah, they throw it away, or they burn it, or they get rid of it. Because otherwise it would ruin the market, right? Or the United States government might buy a lot of it and store it in case of an emergency, right? But they can't store all of it because it's just too much. Right? Okay, so that creates scarcity. So that drives the price of wheat up when there's less supply than demand. See, that's the way capitalists make money. They create an artificial scarcity of a product. Just like if there's a huge demand for, like, for example, in the last 2 days there was a huge demand for salt, right? To melt the ice, right? So if you went to Home Depot in Redmond, you would have seen that after Home Depot ran out of salt, like I think maybe 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon on today's Saturday, so it was like it's Thursday, right? You're in that situation. There was a guy outside of Home Depot with a truck selling salt, right? That's the type of salt you use to melt the ice. And where did he get it? He might have gotten it at Home Depot. And he was outside. He knew they were going to run out. He was outside selling it for more than what Home Depot was selling. And people were buying it because they couldn't get it. They were calling up other stores, other Home Depots. They were all out. So in a short period of time, he made money by... And yesterday, I saw a guy walking out of Home Depot in Redmond with about 40 bags of salt. I was thinking, what's he going to do with all that? Well, some people need that much. The ones that live on these hills, where you have a driveway going straight up like that, off of East Lake Sammamish or these places. They need a lot of salt to melt all that ice. Otherwise, they can't go up to their house. They have to park their car on the street and walk all the way up. So you see, whenever you create a scarcity, people make money. So sometimes, and it's happened many times, people will buy up all of a harvest. Let's say there was these rich guys that bought all the silver one year on the market, and the price of silver shot up like that. Then the United States government accused them of artificially creating this scarcity and fined them and charged them criminally, you know, because they seized the market. Just like I was buying quinoa, and I used to sell it, right? One year I couldn't buy it because the Chinese bought the entire harvest in South America. You couldn't find it on the market. The Chinese took the whole harvest, you know. So things like that happen, and as soon as there's a scarcity, the price goes way up. You can't get it. Like the British did this in World War II to stop Bengal from revolting against them during the war. They created an artificial famine in Bengal, and people were dying. They couldn't buy rice. The British bought up all the rice, put it in their godowns, and was guarding it with the British army. And people were dying in Calcutta and all over Bengal. They couldn't buy rice. And any rice that there was like that guy outside of Home Depot selling the salt. You know, this black market, and it was way too high for the poor people to buy.
The petrol price, it's not exactly to that extreme.
No, it fluctuates all the time because sometimes, due to political reasons, the Saudis and the OPEC hold back the production so that there's a scarcity, and then it goes way up. And then, you know, they did this after Israel attacked. Israel won the war against Egypt. The Arabs purposely held back the oil, and you had lines of people. This is the time of Jimmy Carter. You had lines of people waiting to get gas, and people were fighting with each other to get gas in the United States. Right? And the price of gas went way up. You know, and there was a scarcity. You couldn't get gas. Right? That was in the United States. You know, so that hasn't happened since then because the United States is keeping a real control over what the price of oil is, and they give the Saudis special treatment so they don't hold back the production. Okay, so now the solution to all this, we were talking about the problems. Now the solution is if the leaders of society and rich people donate out of their mercy 50% of their accumulated wealth. Now, someone who has, let's say, $4 billion, and they give $2 billion to spread Bhagavatam all over the world and Bhagavad Gita all over the world, will they lower their standard of living? No. They have $4 billion, so they gave half of it away. They still have $2 billion. Can you spend $2 billion in a lifetime? No, it's impossible. You know, even if you tried to do it, you'd have a hard time doing it. $2 billion. $1 billion is 1,000 million dollars. Right? Yeah, and $1 trillion is 1,000 billion dollars. Right? So now you have Jeff Bezos. He's got $60 trillion, right? Or 30? How much?
Apple value was like 1 trillion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, so he's got $130 billion, right? Now he's going to get a divorce, and he has to give half of it to his wife. Is he worried? No, he's not worried. He still has $70 billion. Why should he be worried? You try and spend $70 billion. You would have a hard time spending all that money. Even if it was for the rest of your life, you would not be able to spend all that money. It's too much. You know, you'd get bored buying this, buying that, right? So, you see, if the rich people in the world, and there are a lot of them now, a lot of billionaires in the world, China has as many billionaires as the United States, right? if they would spend, Prabhupada's saying, half their money to educate people in God consciousness, meaning knowledge of the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, certainly the age of Kali will be defeated in its attempt to entrap the conditioned souls. That's an unbelievable statement. Say, see, right now, all the rich people in the world are worried. Why? Because you have Alexandria, what's her name? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, right? Now, she is a communist in the United States House of Representatives. She's a communist. She wants to eliminate all airlines. She wants to tax the rich, take their money away from them. Right? Not tax them like, 50%. She wants to tax them 98%. Right? And she wants to take that money and give free education to everyone, college education, and give free this and free that. But wait a minute, there's a caveat. Okay, write this word down. C-A-V-E-A-T, caveat. What does caveat mean? Yes? Huh? Well, it actually means it's a warning. It's a warning, serious warning, right? That has a catch to it, yes. The caveat is you're going to get everything free, but we are going to control your life completely. That's the caveat. So right now, do you have some freedom in the United States? Yeah. Yeah, we have a good measure of freedom. And no one is completely free, but you have a good measure of freedom. But if they take your money, take the money from the rich, and they're going to start handing it out, that means they're going to control every part of your life. What kind of house you can have, what food you can eat, what food you can't eat. They're going to control, what kind of car you're going to have. Like you go to Russia. If you went to Russia 50 years ago, you would see, just like if you went to India 50 years ago, you would see the ambassador in India, and you would see, I forget the name of the car in Russia. Everybody has the same car. All the cars look the same. Huh?
It used to be the ambassador car. The name of the car
In Russia? No, in India, yeah. But they had their own version of it in Russia, right? Everybody had the same car. Everyone was living in these, slum-like apartments, gigantic, huge apartments. Everyone's living in these small apartments, and everyone is on a limited income. Of course, they're getting things free, There's relative free medical, free education. Nobody's allowed to have a business. You can work in government-controlled businesses, but no one's allowed to have their own business. If they catch you doing business, they arrest you. Right? Of course, people were doing it under the table, but you couldn't own anything. You couldn't own even your apartment. You couldn't own any land. Right? So that's, and then, of course, religion was not free in the Soviet Union. You couldn't, they closed down many churches, synagogues, mosques. They closed them down, made them into barns for cows and things. So you see, there's a caveat, there's a warning. The buyer beware. You want to get everything free, you have to give up your freedom to get everything free. Or whatever freedom you have, right? Why do you think so many people want to come to the United States? Because you have a chance to make a lot of money and have a lot of sense gratification, right? You have a chance to do it. Better chance than in many other places in the world, right? Okay, but here Prabhupada's saying all these people have become so rich, if they give half of their income It's not their income. Half of their wealth. There's a difference between income and wealth. Income is what you earn every year. Wealth is money you've put away because you earned so much. If they give half of their wealth to spreading Bhagavatam, Sankirtan, and Krishna consciousness, you could stop Kali from advancing and putting people into Maya. That's a big thing. That means people would be peaceful, they would be happy, they would get along with each other, there wouldn't be wars. All these things would happen that would make life much better. Okay. Prabhupada says, the preaching of the Bhagavatam principles will automatically render all men austere, clean both inside and outside, merciful to the suffering, and truthful in daily behavior. That is the way of correcting the flaws of human society, which are very prominently exhibited in the present moment. So now we went from the downside of Kali Yuga to the solution, where all these negative things that we're seeing that we didn't see before in India. Young teenage girls walking down the street smoking cigarettes. People working all night outsourcing for the United States, then going to the bar on their way home for refreshment. Is it refreshment? No, they're going to get drunk and go home and sleep it off so they can go to work again the next night. And eating meat. So much meat eating going on now in India. And smoking and intoxication and divorce and all these things that never were there, very little before. Very, very little. Now, commonplace. And it's called modern. Right? So, what does this mean? The preaching of Bhagavatam principles will automatically render all people austere, clean both inside and outside, merciful to the suffering, and truthful in daily behavior. So again, there are 4 Brahminical principles. There is mercy, truthfulness, cleanliness, and austerity. These are 4 universal principles of spirituality or religiosity. So here Prabhupada says, the preaching of the Bhagavatam principles will automatically render all men austere. That's 1. Clean both inside and outside. Number 2. Merciful. Number 3. And truthful in daily behavior. Number 4. So, are these good things or bad things? To be truthful, to be clean, inside and outside. Clean outside we understand. You go to the Safeway and you buy some Dove soap or Dial soap, right? You come home, you take a bath, you wet your body and you rub the soap on it, and then you rinse and all the dirt washes away. What can you buy soap to clean the mind in Safeway? No. What is the soap to clean the mind?
You don't even have to pay for it. It's free. It's the Mahamantra.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Well, yeah, that, but only if you chant without offenses. If you chant with offenses, then your mind doesn't get clean. In fact, it goes the opposite way, right? You have to give up the offensive chanting. And you know what the 10 offenses against the holy name are. You know them? Oh, okay. Well, that means you knew it at one time. Yeah. Okay. So, in other words, to blaspheme devotees who have dedicated their lives to propagating the holy names of the Lord. 2. Consider names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to independent names of Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in pursuance of the Vedic version. 5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna as imagination. 6. To give some mundane interpretation on the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activity on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities of karma kanda. 9. To instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name. And 10. To not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions in this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees that can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they're full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Gauru Premanande Haribol Haribol Jai. So, what is your homework for next week? Memorize the 10 offenses against the holy name. You have to memorize all 10. Okay, Arush? Is your dad going to help you? He's going to also memorize it. Huh? Huh?
You already memorized.
You have them? You know them all? All right, tell me the first 5. Demigods. Whatever happened to the microphone? Consider the... Yeah. Okay, good. So you can memorize them even better next week, okay? Because if we chant the holy names of the Lord without committing offenses, then Krishna will bless us with knowledge of Bhagavatam, by which you become austere, merciful, clean, and truthful. You become a first-class person in society. What's more important? To become a first-class rich person who's proud, addicted to intoxication and sense gratification, or to become a first-class devotee who is austere, clean, merciful, and truthful? Which one is better? Huh? What? The second one. Okay. Going to it. So if you asked this question in your class to 29 other persons, which one would they say? The first one, yeah, of course. They don't care about having good character. They care about having money for sense gratification. Okay, so we're going to stop right there. So we covered Canto 1, Chapter 17, verse number 24. You going to write that down? 1:17:24. You have to read it, and as your homework, you have to memorize the 10 offenses against the holy name. But why are you going to read it? Because you have to understand 4 things. Point 1, you have to understand the 3 things that are making Kali Yuga advance. That is, false pride, sense gratification, and intoxication. Point 2, 3 things 3 habits that are developed by these 3 things that make Kali Yuga advance. That is, wine, smoking, that means wine, beer, whiskey, all those things. Smoking, drinking tea, and chewing tobacco, 1. 2 is being attached to sense gratification. And 3, being falsely proud of their wealth. As it said, even a pauper is proud of his penny. Write this down. This is an English proverb. Even a pauper, P-A-U-P-E-R, is proud of his penny. What does that mean, Krishna?
That means that, like, let's say a rich person is really happy because of his money. Like a poor person is also, he has the same pride and happiness for his one penny that he makes.
Right, it's the same disease. It's just a question of 1 penny as opposed to $1 billion, but is proud of his penny. Pauper means a poor person. Shishigornitai ki jai. So after class, we're going to have a short discussion of the Big Bang.
Yashomati Nandana Brajabara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Yashomati Nandana Brajabara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Gopi Parana Dana Madana Manohara Gopi Parana Dana Madana Manohara Kaliya Gamana Vidana Kaliya Gamana Vidana Amala Harina Mami Avilasa Amala Harina Mami Avilasa Vipina Purandara Navina Nagara Mura Vamsi Vadana Suvasa Prajajana Palana Surakulana Sana Prajajana Palana Surakulana Sana Nanda Godana Rakovala Nanda Godana Rakovala Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Sundarananda Gopala Sundarananda Gopala Jamuna Tata Chara Gopi Basanahara Jamuna Tata Chara Gopi Basanahara Rasa Rasika Kripa Moya Rasa Rasika Kripa Moya Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natapara Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natapana Bhakti Vinodashraya Ashraya. Yashomati Nandana Prajavara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana. Yashomati Nandana Prajavara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana. Gopi Parana Gana Madana Manohara. Gopi Parana Gana Madana Manohara. Kaliya Damana Vidana. Kaliya Damana Vidana. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Radha. Jayo Jagannatha, Jayo Jagannatha, Jayo Baladeva, Jayo Subhadra. Jayo Jagannatha, Jayo Jagannatha, Jayo Baladeva, Jayo Subhadra. Jayo Sita Ram, Jayo Lakshman Hanuman, Jayo Sita Ram, Jayo Lakshman Hanuman. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Okay, now we're going to talk about the Big Bang. Murli told me, what did you tell me, Murli, about the Big Bang? It destroys. It doesn't create, it destroys. He understands the Big Bang. Okay, so I'm going to show you something now. You can pass this around and look at it. This is a very famous sculpture of Mother Mary and Jesus Christ. It's one piece of marble. So look at it carefully. It's only one piece of marble that Michelangelo received over 500 years ago, and he sculpted it into this unbelievable, beautiful sculpture from one piece of marble. So take a look at it. The head's not broken. What? Where does the head fall off? There's no head fall off.
There's no head.
Yes, there is.
No, on the person. Yeah, on the left.
Let me see.
There's no head.
Yes, of course there's a head. What are you talking about? No, his head is down like this. Because that's Jesus. He's dead. He was crucified, and after he was crucified, his mother came and took his body on her lap like this. She's holding it. And he's got a head. Don't say there's a head there. Didn't look like your head, but it looked like somebody else's head. Okay, now this is one piece of marble. Just a big piece of marble, and he got it, and he sculpted this unbelievable, it's one of the most famous sculptures in the whole world. You can see it today, it's still there in the Vatican, of Mother Mary and Jesus. And Michelangelo signed his name on it. It's the only time he ever signed his name. So, why am I showing you that? Because I took this article from the internet. It's called Big Bang, What Really Happened at Our Universe's Birth. So, I'm not going to read all this. It's a bunch of gobbledygook. But you'll see one illustration here, and I'll pass this around. You look at it. It says that in the beginning, there was a big lump of matter. And exploded. Now they also have articles about what was there before the lump. And their conclusion is they're not sure. Ah, very good question, Merle. I mean, you're a philosopher. How did they know the big? Where did it come from? Right? Yeah. So I'll read you that one part. It says, the traditional Big Bang theory posits, meaning it claims, that our universe began with a singularity. So these are all big words. Singularity means a point of infinite density and temperature whose nature is difficult for our minds to grasp. That means, singularity means there was one thing, just like Michelangelo started with one lump of marble, and then he carved it into this amazing sculpture. Who has the picture now? Oh, you're looking at it, okay. You want to pass it around, let everyone see. It's an amazing piece of sculpture. Where's his head? Who is it? You don't see the head? The head is like this. He's dead. And she's holding him like this and looking at his head. So basically, they're saying, when they say singularity, it means there was a dense, big, unimaginably big piece of matter that had temperature. It was hot. And it's difficult to imagine how big it was. Right? That's basically what he said. However, this may not accurately reflect reality, researchers say, because the singularity idea is based on Einstein's theory of general relativity. Well, again, using a lot of big words, they're saying, we're not sure, even of this. That's what they're saying. The problem is, there's no reason whatsoever to believe general relativity in that regime. In other words, Einstein's theory of general relativity might not apply to the Big Bang. Basically, they're saying that. Said Sean Carroll, a theoretical physicist at Caltech. A theoretical physicist is a guy that works for Disneyland that makes up stories. But he gets paid a lot more money because he works also at Caltech University. Right? It's going to be wrong because it doesn't take into account quantum mechanics. Now nothing new is coming in here, quantum mechanics. And quantum mechanics is certainly going to be important once you get to that place in the history of the universe. In other words, when you get to talking about creation, you have to take into account quantum mechanics also. Okay. So the very beginning of the universe remains pretty murky, which means basically we don't know zilch about anything about creation, right? Scientists think they can pick the story up at about 10 to the minus 36 seconds. 1/trillionth of a trillionth of a trillionth of a second after the Big Bang. Yeah, this is called double talk. They're saying one thing with the tongue this side, and they're saying another thing with the tongue that side. They're just switching sides and saying two things that don't make sense.
Just put jumbling words in it.
Yeah.
And make you confused.
Right. Okay, so they're saying that 1/trillionth of a trillionth of a trillionth of a second after the Big Bang, we know something. But before that 1/trillionth of a trillionth of a trillionth of a second, we don't know anything. You see, this is all nonsense. This is all nonsense. Right? But they're using big words to sort of make this nonsense sound like science. At that point, they believe. There's no facts. They just believe, just like you believe there are green guys on the moon, and I believe there's yellow guys on the moon. You know, so you know this. We're in the realm of belief now, not science. At that point, they believe the universe underwent an extremely brief and dramatic period of inflation. Inflation, another big word. It means expanding. Right? Expanding faster than the speed of light. Light goes at 173,000 miles per second. Right. Now, see, that's why they say it doesn't relate to Einstein's theory of relativity, because in his theory of relativity he says that the fastest thing is light. Nothing goes faster than that. And here they're saying that right after the Big Bang, matter expanded faster than the speed of light. So they're contradicting Einstein's theory of relativity. It doubled in size perhaps 100 times or more, all within the span of a few tiny fractions of a second. Now, they're saying, first of all, that lump, that original lump of matter, you can't imagine how big it was. Now they're saying it expanded 100 times more within a few seconds. No, within a few fractions of a second. Okay, so all this is in the realm of Disneyland. You know, it's all stuff that you can't prove. It's all unsubstantiated, and it's all fantasy, basically. Now they say in parentheses, inflation may seem to violate the theory of special relativity. They're saying, well, what we're saying here violates what Einstein said in his theory of relativity. But that's not the case. Scientists say special relativity holds that no information or matter can be carried between 2 points in space faster than the speed of light. But inflation was an expansion of space itself. So they're saying the matter didn't increase, it's space that increases. So this is another double talk to get around violating the law of relativity. This is exactly what Sankaracharya did to get around everything that Vyasadeva said. He said, I'm not contradicting Vyasadeva, I'm just saying that he might have forgotten something. So, and these guys are doing the same thing here. Because Einstein is the big guy, they can't say, his theory is junk. So they're saying, the matter didn't increase, space increased. Anyway, I won't read the rest of it. It's all a bunch of gobbledygook. It's all, yeah, you can see. So here's a picture of the expansion of after the Big Bang. And it's still going on. It's still expanding. Okay, so the way to defeat this Big Bang nonsense, because the Big Bang, there was no God, there's no God in it. Even in Einstein's relativity, there's no God involved. Right? But we see what happens, how to transform a lump into something unbelievable. You need a Michelangelo to do that, an intelligent, highly qualified person. He took a lump of marble in which you don't see anything specific, like you don't see a specific form in it, right? And he changed it into what you saw, that beautiful sculpture of Mary holding Jesus in her lap. And that's one piece of marble. So how do you take a lump of matter and transform it into planets and people and amoebas and fish and all that? How do you,
Then how do they know?
you need an intelligent person behind the whole thing.
How do they know if they're not born?
How do who know if they're not?
People.
How do they know if they were not born?
Yeah.
But if you're a person, you were born, right?
Yeah.
You were born.
No, but how do they know?
What you mean is, how do they know what happened in the beginning of creation when they were not born?
Yeah.
Yeah. You guess. That's what they're doing. They're guessing. Now, your guess is as good as mine, they say in English. So your guess, Morley, is just as good as the big PhD nuclear physicist, theoretical physicist. Your guess is just as good. Because it's a guess. It's a speculation. So you can speculate also. Okay, so that is our lesson on the Big Bang today. You have your homework for next week. And you have to read this verse, Canto 1, Chapter 17, verse 24. And describe how the age of Kali is advancing. What are the three principles advancing the age of Kali? It's false pride, attachment to sense gratification, and intoxication. And what it leads to: corruption, bribery, and nepotism.
So we have to understand that?
And then, what are the four universal principles of religiosity? And what is advancing irreligiosity? You have to understand and make notes. Get all these points straight. Okay? Haribo. Thank you. Thank you.